Alright, buddy. Please no Ghost Arena.
All right. We are back with another game of Bronze Bootcamp. My name is Haberdashing, joined by a host of new casters here. I got Crazy Phil again. I got Darkner and Horse Doctor, all here to give you great feedback about what's going on in Bronze Bootcamp. If you know or you don't know, Bronze Bootcamp is a game mode designed by the Trinity Force podcast to help you improve your game if you're level 30 to Silver 5. You come in, you play, we comment, and you can go back and watch the VODs to see what you can improve on in your game. If you have or haven't heard about the Trinity Force podcast, you can check them out at www.trinityforcepodcast.com. And we got a host of all different podcasts there, from the Proper, the LCS Rundown, the Oz LOL, and now the Four Wards podcast. So if you know anything about League of Legends, whether it's competitive scene, whether it's just shooting the shit about the game, there's something there for everybody. So I encourage you guys to go check that out. Let's talk about the game, what's going on here right now. I got through that really fast. So, picks and bans here. Who wants to start us off?
Sion one's interesting, especially after his punt got nerfed. I've been seeing him in jungle a lot in my ranked games, though. His W is really good at the new jungle item.
Oh, yeah. Like, Jungle Sion got a huge buff, along with the reduction of mana on his Q.
Akali ban, she's like 40% win rate after the E nerf. She's really bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to see her a lot, but after that nerf, it's just she dropped off the map.
Yeah, because now, like, Akali, you would assume she hits a power spike at level 6, but the fact that the range on her alt jump, whatever you want to call it, at this point, it's about the same range as her Q.
Yeah.
So you are never going to be able to outtrade someone, and it
takes a very certain matchup, and maybe they know what they're going into. Zed, no, yeah. You'd be fine.
Having to auto attack when you used to be able to E, like in a late game team fight.
That's a huge.
It gimps you all game, even after lane.
So besides that here, the Blitzcrank and Nasus ban for blue team. What do you guys think about those?
The Blitzcrank, I can see if... I don't know if they were talking about a strategy in removing Blitzcrank, because I personally like to get it away if I'm going to go into immobile support or mid. But in terms of just like banning him outright, he's overall obnoxious in the game, so it's understandable. I wouldn't say it's a great ban, but I wouldn't say it's horrible either.
Yeah, I mean, just the thing with the Blitzcrank, it can only take that one grab before things just go tits up.
It's also not a professional game. Like, you're not targeting someone. And the likelihood that if you leave an OP up, somebody can actually play it also isn't as high. So sometimes, like, if something's good and you just don't want to play against it, like Blitzcrank, it's not a bad ban.
Yeah. Same thing, I think, with the Nasus. That fits in that same sort of mentality.
Yeah, Nasus makes teams fight. He really does.
Yeah. I hate Nasus.
The one thing I will say that I've probably said a lot in TeamSpeak is that Nasus and Sion right now are incredibly strong, and it's not just because of the way their kits are. It's a lot of because of how the current itemization in the game is, where no matter what situation, they can build an item that matches that situation that they not only benefit from, but it also helps them scale into the late game. Nasus with the CDR and tankiness, and Sion with just the fact that he can build legitimately a Thornmail and Frozen Heart. It's not recommended, but he can build those things, and late game still have 3,600 health just because it's passive.
I agree. So, any other bans? Riven being banned on the other side, as well as Graves. Graves right now is the most popular AD carry. So, I mean, that may just be to get him out of the way. Overall, I don't think he's worth a ban.
No, neither do I.
In an unorganized team where I guess you don't really know what your support is capable of, I would agree with the Graves ban, mostly because to really out-trade a Graves, you need to know that your support is going to be either aggressive or that he's going to go in at the same time as you to trade at the same time, so that Graves doesn't just EQ combo someone to half health. So in a game where you have no idea who your partner is going to be in that lane, I have to agree with that, man.
Okay. And it's just that, like, with AD carries, they can be influenced so much by their items. They almost are all the same in a way. You know, like obviously they all have their differences with their kits and range and everything, but because they rely so much on itemization, you can focus down an AD carry lane, and it completely changes their pace of the game.
Yeah, I agree. But I also like to think that right now, in terms of like the ability to kind of ignore your support to some extent and just be an AD carry by your kit,
Hmm.
Graves is one of those champions where you don't even need your support to really help you with trades. It's just EQ in, they'll heal you if you need it or help with whatever utility they have,
Hmm.
but they're not really necessary there for that trade.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you land like a thresh hook to start it off, it's beneficial. But I agree. So picks going on right now. Zed, we got a whole.
I
Let's
don't
just
like
run.
this pick Zed.
Yeah, it's very.
It's risky.
Yeah,
Zed's not strong enough now to do that unless you're like an absolute god at Zed.
and I think it's going to be up against mid lane Karma.
I would, yeah, I would think so. That Timo pick, I don't know what to say about it.
I don't know, like if you like playing Teemo, that's your go-to. I mean,
Oh,
fine, yeah, it's cool.
trust me. For people that want to look it up, there are Timo master players. I
We
they-
call them
Yeah,
Satanists.
there's one I've played a decent amount. His name is like X King Kush X, and he's super toxic.
That's the exact name I'd expect a Teemo player to have.
He builds like Zerx, Blade of the Rune King, Leandries every game too, no matter what. He's ridiculous.
Yeah,
But-
and
I, I
So
will
blue-
agree with the Sejuani pick though.
Blue team has like 2 tanks, a support mid, and Jinx. So it's pretty clear what they have to do in team fights.
they have 2 tanks.
It's Sejuani and Shyvana.
Oh, you said blue team.
Oh, purple, my bad.
like maybe you got Vi.
Yeah, I didn't mute for a second.
They basically have no tanks to some extent. Because
Yeah.
let's be honest, most Vi is just think about going damage, and that's a bit of Riot's fault because like the scaling on her ADs.
Hmm.
But basically we can scope it down to whichever team gets ahead. If let's say if blue side gets ahead early, they can push to win. But if purple side stays ahead, that's gonna cause some real problems late game.
Yeah, it's gonna be really hard for blue team to really engage once they're hitting those inner towers, because you have the Zyra, you have the Sejuani, you have a lot of lockup and disengage.
You also have a lot of siege potential from red side. When you look at the Zyra, you look at the Karma. You can kind of siege with Jinx if you time your rocket switch properly. Overall, though, they really picked into like certain champions into wrong spots. Like Jinx and Zyra into a Zed Vi can also be really problematic for them. If they get caught out at any moment, they're just gonna explode.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the biggest thing is they both have 80 carries that can take towers really easily, and purple team has a really good siege. But whenever you play with Teemo, I'm assuming Teemo's playing AP because that's what most people do right now. Teemo has really, really, really good objective control, so purple team's gonna want to play around towers. If you get into like a dragon or a baron fight against Teemo, things go south really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if someone gets like half health by Teemo with like a Zed and a Vi on the other team. It's kind of no heals on their team. They have Karma Shield for Shrooms, which is good. If Tesla's on top of his game, though.
If they honestly spam sweepers, they should be fine though. But
That's how good the Teemo is at Shrooms.
It's you think it'd help, but it really doesn't.
the thing is Teemo's not running teleport, so
Uh-huh.
even though they should have objective control per se, if he at any point leaves his lane to try to like gain dominance over an objective with shrooms,
Mhm.
he's gonna pay for it.
Teemo doesn't offer that much objective control for Dragon because he's not going to shroom up Dragon in top lane. Even if Teemo brings TP, he can't like TP and drop 10 shrooms. But Teemo's objective control is like 30, 40 minute, like 4th Dragon, Baron.
Yeah. So we're almost in game here. Quick rundown of the lanes. Top lane, Teemo versus Shyvana. How's that one going to work out?
Teemo should win unless he gets ganked. He took Ignite, so he has no excuse to lose. If you lose lane with Ignite into TP, you're really setting your team up for some problems.
Mm-hmm.
And Teemo. Teemo with Ignite.
Yeah, the issue is that when Shyvana hits level 6, he can just jump all over Teemo and should be able to out-trade Teemo then, if she just TP's back into lane.
Depends how smart Teemo is. She can't 100 to 0 him, but she can 50 to 0 him.
Mm-hmm. Like, Shyvana wants to try to level up her E and just keep on trying to get her ass off of Teemo, just to whittle him down.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, you try to go for an all-in then.
Yeah,
Shyvana E's like the old school Scion punt. It's just so annoying.
The best way to look at it is this entire matchup is based on how Teemo plays. If he kites well, like even once Shyvana hits 6, she can jump onto him. That's about, I want to say, 250 damage, and then she could spam everything she has on him. But at the end of the day, if Teemo gets off that Q right as she lands, and he just kites her back, he's good. Even though he might be chunked, he should almost be able to even up that trade. Because Teemo can out-kite her.
Yeah, and that's the thing with like picking Shyvana into Teemo. She has no real hard CC after that Dragon comes down. So with Teemo's move quick, he should be able to get out of there fairly easily. So mid lane then, Zed versus Karma.
To be honest, Karma should win pre-6. Zed, if played right, can beat her, but she should be able to get out of there before she dies. Karma's a monster in lane. She kind of oozes lane dominance just because of how much like utility and trade potential she brings. Zed can kind of override that with just the fact that he can nuke you into oblivion, but he won't have the damage output at level 6 to be able to do that instantaneously. So as long as she throws her shield onto herself and gets out, she should be fine.
Yeah, it's going to be really important, I think, for the Karma to be getting early armor in the form of the Zhonya's or the Seeker's Arm Guard. So as soon as you can get that, I think, especially if you can get that pre-6, which you probably can't, but if you are, it'd be a huge get.
I think she should go Morello's than Hourglass. I think Karma falls off too fast to get Hourglass first because it doesn't really let you snowball. Like, you need to win on Karma. After level 9, she just falls off.
Well, she still has a lot of utility for her team in this team fights where you have the Jinx starting to clean up. You have your frontline tanks that would benefit a lot from those shields and speed buffs.
I will say that statement about her falling off would really depend on her build.
Well, like if she didn't fall off, like, she would get played mid and top like Lulu.
Oh no, I agree that she does fall off, but it's also like how they end up playing it. If Karma doesn't, brings a lot of utility as well. It's kind of like Lulu top, in my opinion.
Her falling off or not will depend on how well Jinx does, really.
Yeah.
Like, if Jinx is big, she won't. Blue team really needs to focus. I mean, purple team really needs to focus bottom lane, though.
I agree. That Vi will decimate bot lane.
Zyra snowballs, too.
No, don't go Doran's Blade first. Don't.
Let me see.
Who are you saying? Oh, on Shyvana? Yeah, no.
Unless she's going to do a camp.
Okay, so what we're probably wanted to see there first would be a Doran's shield, do you think?
Yeah.
Alright, Jinx, Karma, and Sejuani. Like, I will say this every game until it doesn't happen anymore, but you do not need to skill it 20 seconds. Like, you might need chompers for an invade, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's better until minions are in your lane to leave your skill unskilled. Your first one. Okay. There's a lot of posturing around bottom side.
I will say that both teams are doing a good job in warding like the enemy jungle and early on to kind of see the positions that the enemy's trying to get into. Because even in some ranked games, I don't see that happening.
Mm-hmm.
People are AFK getting some cookies before the game starts, man.
Yeah. You think it's going to take forever to load in the game while you're going to the bathroom, and nope, lo and behold, everyone has a, supercomputer, so they're able to...
Go play in Latin America, man. You'll get some 5-minute load times every game.
Oh, man. No, thank you.
Well, they're all still running on Windows 95.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Sejuani, normal start on Gromp?
I think all the starting items are good besides Zed. I would like to see Longsword 3-pot on Zed.
Okay. Yeah, the boots is an interesting pickup.
On someone like Karma, where her main damage is Q, I can see why, but it's also AoE, so...
Yeah, it depends how effective you are with using those boots. Like, the premise is there, yeah, it's solid, but it's all about execution.
Tesla's tanking T creep aggro so hard.
Bot lane, I will say Nami has excellent positioning. She looped around because she saw them flanking up against the wall.
Alright, so Shyvana is doing a camp first, alright.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about Nami, like, if you play support and you play something like Jinx Zyra, you want to bring health somewhere on your runes. Like, walking into lane with 490 health is really scary.
Yeah, it's really
say,
squishy.
Though, if you're gonna run in bot lane that's really immobile, you need to be sure that you know how to communicate. Whether it's Curse Voice or TeamSpeak, it's just too hard to really properly set up engages with Zyra and Jinx.
Well, I mean, you gotta realize when you're playing in solo queue, you're not gonna have that opportunity. So I think it's good to work on pings in game. Like, you can set it up early. It's like, okay, when I ping this person, we're going in. Or, hey, when I'm just using a caution ping, I'm just going for harass. Don't think I'm going all in. But I agree, communication in the bot lane is essential.
Especially with a lane like this where you have two immobile champions. Like, neither of them have even considered warding up mid bush with, not mid, Riv bush. Because in a situation like this, if Vi was anywhere near bot, she would just destroy them.
One thing I'll make note on top is Teemo is pushing into tower over and over again when he's beating Shyvana. And the CS lead isn't that big because of it. If you're beating somebody really hard, don't let them get free farm on tower.
Yeah, so what you should be doing is trying to get the lane to reset and then zone them off.
You walk up to melees, and you let the melees hit you for a second, and then you drag into the bush, so you're kind of freezing it to push back. As opposed to just letting him hit 6v6.
And that gank is going down. Oh.
Shyvana was really greedy. There's no reason to do that.
They're not going to get anything from... Good, that was good of Aya to come up there. Good timing.
Mid lane is just going down the casual try to CS. I see Tesla's missing some CS that he really shouldn't. Tesla, you should be more comfortable with auto-attacking minions. Your spells aren't only for wave clear.
Yeah, and you can see that he's already out of mana from that.
Yep. I remember I was level 25 and I was learning Rise, and my brother was a diamond player. And the first thing he told me is if you ever want to be good at Rise, you need to be able to last hit with autos and harass with your spells. And it's kind of, a lot of champions are like that.
Yeah.
Vladimir, you need to be able to last hit with autos and harass with Q. If you farm with Q, you're kind of... Yeah.
I like to think that, for most mid-champions, it's like that.
Yeah, if it's on tower, or, you're gonna miss the CS without using a spell, your spell is worth, 15 to 30 gold. But if you're gonna hit it anywhere with an auto, there's never any reason to do it.
Especially when you're running, what is it, Feast and the Dorn's Blade. It's 1 mana and I believe
2 health, yeah.
And then 4 mana from the Dorn's Blade. so you kind of get something out of it.
Doran's Ring.
I see something in chat. People are talking about getting a Smurf to play in BA. Please don't do that. The point of this is to learn.
Yeah, at that point, you're just gonna end up with me jungling Zyra. That's
Yeah, if you play a Smurf in BA, I'll play on a Smurf, and I'll make sure you don't have a good time. Like, don't do that, man.
Yeah, that's how you end up with me just going Rengar full damage and just jumping on your face at your fountain.
Okay, so let's talk bottom lane ganking coming in here.
Yeah.
You're burning a lot for it.
Yeah, they committed a lot, and they really tried to force it. That was
Yeah, it just wasn't there.
If they were coming through, if they were to come in through river, that would have been so much more effective. Neither side is warding effectively at all. There's no real excuse for it.
Yeah, if you're like communicating with your AD carry, there's no reason why you shouldn't have at least one ward in the river or tri-brush, because like if you space them out and stagger your trinket wards, you can always keep a ward up in one of the gank paths.
Like red side has a bit of an excuse because they got Scuttle. But blue side's playing. It's strange. If you pay attention to bot lane, the aggro is actually rotating constantly between red and blue, whereas in Nami sometimes causes favorable trades, and in other times they kind of get screwed over one-sidedly. Nami almost just base checked the bush.
That they knew Zyra was already there.
Yeah, that was an issue. They're trying to play too aggressively when they don't have the lane dominance. And Caitlyn also needs to work on being able to harass with her passive properly.
I mean, just last auto attack harassing in general, I think would benefit her. You still have the range benefit. Granted, versus Zyra with 575 range, it's not as noticeable, and it's not a lane matchup that would normally go necessarily in your favor just because of your range. But, you know, early game, you do have the longest range of any other AD carry, so it's good to use that to your advantage.
Sejuani, when you go back and buy jungle things, I can't think of a time you would ever buy Sapphire Crystal before you have something else finished.
I agree.
I mean,
I agree.
What, you're gonna build that into
Probably,
maybe a Frozen Heart?
Glacial.
Or yeah.
Glacial.
But
Maybe
even like the Dharma. That would work too. But even then, like, yeah, the other items that build into that would have been more effective than getting just some more mana.
It's really overkill, especially ever since Sejuani got that buff on her base mana. From, I believe it was like 295 to 400 at level 1.
I played Fiddle for a long time, like really high, and I never bought mana pots, and people always ask me, like, how do you play Fiddle without mana pots or blah blah blah. And like the general rule of thumb is if you're running out of mana in the jungle, you're probably farming too much and not ganking enough.
I will say, Tesla, you should really be more aware of your team's pings. They were mashing that ping button there.
Ooh.
Oh, the double Nami bubble.
Double bubble.
Wow, alright.
That's going a little deep.
Yeah, they're getting greedy. They really shouldn't. They should have just taken that turret.
Yeah, that was...
Especially for a Teemo, and now he has double buffs. This is gonna be bad.
Yeah, that was as greedy as all get out.
Reporting for duty. Wow, tripping.
Oh,
triple.
Teemo.
Dude, that's a
No,
real
no,
Teemo
fuck your
play.
ulti.
So I'm gonna talk about power spikes mid, because if you play
Okay.
a matchup, you need to know like what your power spike is in relevance to them. And I'll talk about like in relevance to Zed, because I don't know much about Karma. But Karma relies heavily on Mantra and level 9, because that's the last point she can get in her Q. Zed really relies on levels 6, 11, and 16. Like once you get 16, you're really strong in teamfight again, because you rank 3 ult. On Karma, if you don't have a significant like CS lead on Zed by like level 11, you're probably not in a good spot.
I will say that the Karma in general, her power spikes are really jumpy.
Really?
It depends. It depends what you're really maxing. I know that some people like maxing her tether because sometimes it really does lead for favorable trades because the amount you heal is actually quite substantial. So it varies, but for the most part.
Okay. That was. I feel like he thought that was going to go a lot better than it did.
Yeah, that me trailing off kind of shows my filter there. But Karma's power spikes vary. A lot of the time, it actually does come from her mantra being like leveling up. Even though that's really weird to say, because a lot of champions don't get a power spike. A lot of champions that start with their ult don't get power spikes on their ult. But
Okay, when you BF sword and they're casting minis on tower, you just need to let the tower hit them and hit them once.
ouch, that fight.
When you BF sword, you really have no excuse to miss CS. That's my
Yeah,
opinion.
I mean,
but
I find like the hardest CSing is before you get your BF sword. After that, it should just be easy mode.
wow, that fire looks so cool. The grave.
I will say Teemo can actually afford to be as aggressive as he's being. Like, he just shoves out Shyvana and she has no response to it.
So what can Shyvana do in this scenario then?
She really needs to start roaming right now and start having more map pressure at this point in the game, really, because she's not going to really do a lot top lane, and she's just going to keep on missing out on more CS at this point.
If she doesn't have TP, she needs to roam. If she has TP, she needs to freeze as well as she can to force Teemo to get on second tower, because it will be that soon, and then TP. Like, if you're losing, you can freeze with TP, and it'll let you farm and get to fights. But if you're losing with that TP, that's why Ignite's so, like, because if you lose with Ignite, you can't freeze a wave, because you'll make your team 4v5.
The problem is Shyvana can't like really freeze, or she can't do anything against the Teemo at all. If she tries to stop the minions right in front of his turret, he has the damage potential to basically force her out of lane with probably 5 or 6 autos and a Q. At the very least, she could roam.
She forces him to get on second tower though, which you could try and gank him.
Yeah.
This
Or
is
you
exactly
keep
what
him
you
in
should
lane.
do.
If you're losing really hard and the other guy's 4 kills, and you keep him in lane, the 4v4 is probably better for your team than a 5v5.
I will say I'm confused with why Sejuani's rushing a Frozen Heart.
Yeah.
I say the only reason you should ever delay your jungle item as a jungler is for mobility or sightstone, if you want to build those.
I will agree.
Oh my god.
But it depends on what jungle item you're going. Like Cinder Hulk, for example, it's a great item. That's a given, but it's not really the greatest for clear. Warriors, if you're gonna go like heavy gank, I would rather you have Moby boots than.
Well, that's if you're going to build them. Like, if you're not going to build Moby, you just sit on tier 1 and finish your item.
Yeah.
If you're not going to build Sightstone, you sit on tier 1 and finish your item.
Yeah, we're not saying that the Frozen Heart's a bad idea. It's a really good item against that team. Because you have the Teemo, you have the Zed, you have Caitlyn all relying on auto attacks in a team fight.
The problem is when you build Frozen Heart, there are very few champions that can accommodate rushing a Frozen Heart. And champions like those are Nasus, Sion, champions that naturally already get a health buff or have the ability to compensate for the lack of health. Champions like Sejuani that don't really get any like natural health gain from an ultimate, or if she's not running those type of runes, it's really lackluster. It's basically like rushing a Thornmail, but you give up less damage by trying to be a utility champion to some extent.
Okay.
Please never rush Stone now.
Well, let's take a minute here and talk about what's going on in the game, what either team needs to be doing. Because we're one dragon in 16 minutes into the game. 2 turrets down apiece. Where is red team looking to... What's their plan of action right now? What should be their plan of action?
Jinx and fight.
Yeah,
Johnny on Zyro.
At this point, they really should be trying to force fights. They're already all really skittish about it, and it's really obvious by the way they're playing. A lot of it comes from their lack of map control, which they really shouldn't be having that problem. But both teams aren't really using their sight stones or overall wards effectively.
Map's pretty dark.
Like there. They could have had a great engagement right there.
Yeah,
but
red team.
no one else committed.
Yeah, I agree. And now the
At least
dragon
Shyvana's
is
at
up.
least reacting to this and trying to take the top tower here.
Which
Good
is,
on her.
yeah, good. And since Tima doesn't have teleport, she'll have a good probability of actually picking it up here.
I'll say to Tesla, if you're gonna get Seekers or something like that, you need to decide what you're gonna build. If your team is losing and you're a mid laner and you can't finish an item till like 20 minutes, you're not gonna be able to do much against it. Like, either get Zonies or get Morellos. I don't like the Seekers Morellos.
I'm fine with Seekers. It's a really cost-efficient item, especially once you build it up. But against the Zed, I would have said, like, commit to an item so you hit that, like, item power spike, even though it's not as crazy. The biggest problem is they're getting out-rotated. Like, Zed is roaming so much more effectively. Their blue side's actually clearing out wards, while... Look at the amount of map pressure they have. They have bot lane jungle on the red side a bit, like, warded off a bit, and then there's no response from red side. They're just wandering around trying to figure out what to do.
The Teemo effect, man. It's real.
Okay, so I'll take this to blue team. What are they looking to do now? Because we talked about it before. They have a pretty squishy lineup, but a lot of damage in their builds.
1-4-0 or
1-3-1.
1-0-4. Oh yeah, they've said they can 1-3-1.
Yeah, there's no one on their team that can stop a Teemo at this point. Like, the only
Karma might
person.
kill too.
It would depend on who's dodging what.
They have Nami. They could definitely 1-3-1 if they wanted. Just, I mean, ask Nami and make sure he holds up and stuff.
Like, Zed is so far ahead that he can easily split push a lane. Teemo could go off splitting a lane, and then they could just pressure mid down. Because no one at this point can really 1v1 Zed. Maybe Sejuani if she, like, rams everything she has into him, and even then he would probably still win because he has the port. And it's the same with Teemo. Zyra might be able to kill Teemo if she lands everything, and even then he probably would still get away because he's so far ahead. The problem is neither team wants to commit to anything at this point.
Yeah, blue team's purple team's in a situation I like to call the hospital bed situation, where it's either you can, like, bleed out, or you can, like, try and make a play. And, like, honestly, somebody just needs to kind of be hypey and try and catch someone. Because they're bleeding out at this point.
The thing is, no one's going in with their Sejuani. At this point, they need Sejuani to be the shot caller to some extent and go in when she says it. Because she's the one that has that team fighting ult that can just change the outcome of it. Okay, my words definitely didn't work that time, but you get my point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always come back, especially in lower elo games, or any elo. People make a lot of mistakes when they play this game, and if you're really good at punishing those mistakes, that's kind of like a good way to come back.
Well, I mean, like,
If you don't punish them, you're you're playing reactively at that point, and you're hoping that they make like a mistake that's so bad that you punish it by default.
But I think they need to focus on what their team's able to do, because they have a really great 5v5 engage, but they're not pressuring that. Instead, they're just getting caught out and giving away more of their potential to come back.
Like honestly, they're really far behind right now. They're about 7K behind. But the thing is they could still honestly win a team fight. Just the amount of AoE utility that they have within their kits. They can get off one good Sejuani ult with a Mantra Q and then a Zyra ult right underneath that. That's an easy ace for them. The problem is neither team wants to go in. The only person that's really making any type of crazy plays is Zed, and he's tower diving people because he knows he can instantly just nuke them.
If I were a purple team, when you play around Teemo, especially if the Teemo team's winning, you don't want to fight where shrooms are.
Oh my god.
I think their best play is, because they know Teemo hasn't been bought much, is to go, fight.
They were burning just a lot to get that Teemo.
Oh, wow.
And
Golden Teemo. Kappa.
There we go.
I would have liked to see Tesla give that to Jinx. They need kills on Jinx really bad. Win this game. That's a good splash.
Alright, now red team really needs to find a way to deal with this Teemo. And what the support really needs to do, get some wards on the top side just to know where this Teemo is roaming. Give Karma blue, and just wherever Teemo goes, Karma should go as well. Karma has the range to poke out Teemo to wave clear versus him. Karma is the answer versus Teemo in this situation.
Okay.
This is also where you see Sejuani is really falling behind. And this comes from both the fact that she delayed her jungle item so long, but also she delayed boots. So her not only was her clear lackluster, but her ability to go up and engage in fights was. So she just hindered herself overall. And
Yeah,
she's
when your
really
team's
suffering.
getting out-rotated in your jungling, you need to have boots.
Okay, so second dragon is live. Zed's doing that by himself
This
right
is
now.
red team's chance to come back.
Mm-hmm.
They have a 5v5 they can fight with no team mushrooms, or besides that one.
They're just really being skittish around this.
Alright, the team mushroom might have won the fight. They half helped him.
They need to stop
Wow,
moving
the
drags.
Nami wave.
They keep like swapping targets, or at least Jinx did, and that was the main problem. She went from Zed onto Dragon onto Teemo, and then swapping over to the people coming in from the left lane.
Oh my god, are we gonna see a Teemo with 20 stacks?
I want to see a Teemo with a
Is this
pentakill.
guy
Let's go.
smart?
Oh god, I don't know.
His
No,
CS
he's just-
has been pretty good too. Check
He's
his
been top
normal
lane a
ones.
lot.
I'm curious. I'm going to after this game.
Yeah, it feels a bit sketchy, but I don't know.
Yeah.
He had like 110 at like 12 minutes. That isn't normal for bronze. In
So
my experience.
let's take a look at Shyvana's build right now. Should she be like looking to finish one item, or is what she's doing efficient?
You finish an item.
Okay.
Don't build damage. If you're getting rocked this hard, that
Yeah.
1400 Belch water is worthless.
Yeah, I was kind of amazed that she tried to like get a little bit more damage. The thing is as Shyvana, you really don't have to build damage. The amount of damage that comes out from when you hit someone with your fireball and you auto, and the fact that you can basically do an auto reset with your Q, basically means you get off, what is it, about 7.5 of their maximum health and magic damage with just within being in melee range of them. She really needs to finish the item because she needs that spike in tankiness. The problem is Zed is both Teemo and Zed are ahead, so she's getting screwed over on one side or the other.
And I know why she built it. She probably built Vamp Scepter to sustain against Teemo. Sustain doesn't help you in a lane unless you can auto attack. And Teemo was winning to the point where like the Vamp was worthless because she went up to auto, like 15 health she's getting from Vamp is way less than like the auto harass she's eating from Teemo.
Not to mention the blind.
Yeah. I'm gonna note on Zed, we're technically losing Teemo a lot. He had a really good early game, and he allowed things well. Him and Kate are both not keeping CS up in the mid game. And if you're playing somebody like Zed, or if you're an AD carry player, one thing I notice a lot in lower mid-range elo is falling behind on CS in mid game.
Yeah.
Or not snowballing your lead, like continuing to.
The other thing is when you're playing Kate, she's a champion that's more meant for shutting down an enemy AD carry rather than being a late game hyper carry. And the fact that she's really fell off in CS, kills and assists is just by how ahead the rest of her team is. She might end up suffering for it later.
Mm-hmm.
And
so what can you do as a mid-game AD carry to make sure you're keeping up in farm?
Learn, I'll post it in chat after this. Lane management's really important because if you farm a wave and you push it in a manner that it like doesn't push back for like 5 minutes, you lose a lot of farm even without missing it. So like learn lane management and just get to the waves and hit the CS. But if you don't like snowball a lane hard enough when you farm it, it'll like slow push for a really long time, and you're not able to farm that lane for a long time, if that makes sense.
Zed is having like amazing like shadow control, which I either play Zed a lot, or I don't know. I don't really know what to say about that. He just has way better shadow control than I usually see from Zed players.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I posted it in chat for anybody watching. The creep wave management. Okay. It'll explain what I'm talking about because it'll take a really long time.
Fair enough. Can you give like a good summary?
You're just learning how minions work. And learning how you can push a wave and do things with it. The game is a game of minions and towers, and you're playing like 5 champions, but learning how to control those minions and make them do what you want is pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
It's like chess.
Especially when you play top lane, you learn about that really quickly because you want that favorable trade and you need your minions to do that.
Mm-hmm. Or like I'll give a real time example. Ezreal players, when you ult bottom lane, you don't ult the whole creep wave, you ult the casters, and that snowballs the wave because your wave won't instantly push and like ram into the next wave. It'll slow push, and then it'll come up with like 5 into the next wave. But your 6 behind that will have time to come up, so it's like 11 on 6. And by the time that happens, you'll end up with like a double cannon on bot tower or something.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we were just talking about how to get back into higher CSing mid to late game. There's a huge creep wave bot lane. The problem is Caitlyn didn't react to it. She tried to farm top lane and slightly push top down when her priority should have been those 20 to 30 minions that were bot lane.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, they're kind of doing the dragon dance a bit. They're reestablishing control. The huge problem that blue side at this point is having, and red side have occasionally, is they both just keep screwing up their positioning. They have their squishies up front, while their tanky ones dive to the back, and then there's no one to peel. There's nothing to keep away the Vi and the Teemo and the Zed from just rampaging.
Here's a big thing I see from Lulus and Karmas, especially in if they're new to mid or top lane and they're not a support player traditionally, or they're new to playing like Lulu or Karma top. This Jinx has to play really passively in fights because she's never getting Karma shield. If you play Lulu or Karma top, you can carry with your own damage, but like your comp revolves around you shielding your AD carry a lot.
Exactly, and when you get into team fights here, using your empowered Q is probably the least effective.
Agreed.
If Jinx steps up to hit someone, she should get a Karma Q without like being scared. I mean Karma shield.
I personally think that Mantra Shield is probably one of the best utility spells in terms of like mid laners, because it just provides so much, not just the shielding but the mobility. You basically have a built-in talisman.
Yeah, it's, and also with your tether, it's going to be able to keep you alive, because if you start off with your mantra E, if the team fight's still going on, chances are you'll have a chance to use another Mantra ability if you're building at least 25% CDR.
Now let's check Karma if she's CDR scaling blues or not. Alright, so if you don't take CDR scaling blues, or if you're not getting blue buffs, so like in Karma's position now, she's losing really bad and she only has some Morellos. 40% CDR in Karma is like more important than any other champion because of her ultimate. I would just get CDR boots.
And I will say this: the build Zyra's going, I get it. She wants some Mikhails, but this is this opportunity to show you that playing champions where they're not where they quote unquote don't belong and building them in a certain manner that makes them less effective is really gonna punish you. You trying to go utility on a Zyra support, it's gonna be a downfall. Like, you overall provide damage output and you scale with so much damage that going straight damage after your Sightstone is gonna propel your team more forward than you going a Mikhail's.
In the solo queue setting.
If you have something really important to Mikhail's, no matter who you're playing, even if you're playing Leona, it's good to get it. But
yeah.
I personally feel, at least with Zyra, like if you're gonna go Zyra, I've never seen a support Zyra in pro play. Like I personally haven't.
I have a lot.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
They just went Moby's tank, so they didn't die and get one shot by the other mid laner.
Well, yeah, that was the assassin meta. Well, okay, my game froze.
Okay, well, any other comments, final thoughts about this game?
Nami was smart in building the Banner of Command. Teemo went really greedy with the damage, but he could because of the way he was going. Give me a second.
Sure. Any other final thoughts about the game here before we sign it off?
Yeah, the thing I noticed that red team didn't really upgrade their trinkets at all.
Yeah.
Versus blue team. Vision and vision denial is so important when you're behind. You really just need to upgrade your trinkets at level 9 or above.
Yeah, and we got to that point where, their team fight potential wasn't enough to carry them through because they got far behind. But in that time before then, I definitely agree. Yeah, setting up that vision and just waiting for your opportunity would have been better. But they just got picked off way too many times.
When you're losing really hard, reestablishing vision on the whole map can be overwhelming because it's so big or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And what you want to look at is what's the next objective up. And just finding, like, if Dragon's up in 3 minutes, clear out, if you're playing purple side, clearing out, like, your blue buff side.
Yep.
Because if you're a support, like, especially if your team's not helping you, you're not going to be able to reestablish vision control on, like, the entire map. Like, you can't do it. Jungle needs to help. You can do one side of the jungle and try and fight on that one side of the jungle. So, like, play where you have vision and establish vision there. Because you play behind and you fight where they have vision, like, yeah.
I will say that Sejuani made a lot of smart picks. I won't agree with the way she was building, but she did have a lot of opportunities where she was like, go in, I ulted them down. And just no one else wanted to commit to it.
Okay. So, guys, that's game 2. We'll be back with another game in just a second, so join us then.